right, should we dive into the MORDRU-VERSE?
This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
Hello, everyone.
We're professional cartoonists. We're Legion of Superheroes experts.
Greetings, Legionnaires.
Clordney.
Is that one of the aliens?
It's some kind of legion, it's like I think they had a festival called the Clordney Fest or something. I don't remember. Klordny. Clordney.
Burning Man?
I have no idea.
Is it like The Purge?
Probably like The Purge.
I was just reading ahead a little on 5 years later and
like the one with the fingers on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've read that one very many times.
Well, I was skimming through because I was trying to figure out if Mordru is aware of issue 5. Mm-hmm. Because in issue 5, the one we're covering, he is somehow, even though we don't really see him, apparently he is aware of the previous universe, like the pre-Punch universe. He knows about it.
Right.
So I'm wondering if he would also remember this world once it changes again. But I didn't see any definitive proof.
We'll have to talk about that at the end because I kind of have that question based on like the last page.
Okay, we are continuing on our ongoing issue by issue coverage of the 5 years later period of Legion of Superheroes, volume 4. We've reached issue 5. It was published on January 16th of 1990 with a cover date of March 1990. It's the first of the 90s Legion issues. As always, Keith Giffen is the writer, along with Tom and Mary Bierbaum. And Al Gordon also assisted on the story here. Giffen is drawing, Al Gordon is inking, Tom McCraw is colorist, Todd Klein letters, and Mark Waid is still editor, though this might be his last issue.
Yeah, he's editor for now.
Mm-hmm. And as we've mentioned before, like every name on this list, except I guess Todd Klein, they all end up writers of the Legion.
Todd Klein wrote Omega Men.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Can you hear my chair squeaking?
No, I can't.
Okay,
I was thinking about how it's almost like a TV series in that way that you have they have like a whole writing staff for this book. Well, there's 4 guys. And there's always really 2, because, in my opinion, because the artist usually does a lot of the writing through the drawing. I can't think of another book with that many writers on it.
Yeah, I can't really either. 52 or something like that had a bunch of writers, but yeah, mostly they don't.
Well, it certainly works for this. It allows it to have a depth and a complexity that probably one guy couldn't have cooked up and orchestrated himself very easily.
Yeah, for sure. Giffen's been doing his thing for a long time,
mm-hmm.
And doing the breakdowns or whatever that mm-hmm. is. Strong hand in the storytelling. And I guess he's not even, do they call him the writer of this comic? He's just the plotter. But yeah, he's the main story generator. But then all these other people, they chip in their ideas, and then Tom and Mary are writing the dialogue. I think Tom mostly does the writing of the dialogue, and then Mary Bierbaum, Al Gordon chipping in ideas.
Right.
And they use those or not as they wish.
And to help Giffen, I don't know, maybe he's the quarterback or whatever. He's the coach. Because he pieces out he had, for example, he had them all come up with 2 or 3 new characters. And that's a great way to write it. It makes the characters more diverse because they're all coming from different sources.
Yeah, I think Giffen is probably the rare talent who could funnel all of that mm-hmm. Contributions from a bunch of different people into a coherent kind of monthly thing and have it all still hang together.
Right, and he's the name attached to the big name, so he kind of has the clout to take the lead.
It's so strange that he is the big name and has the clout, mm-hmm. just for a lot of reasons, like based on his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
How did this guy get to be in charge of stuff looking like this? And the swiping controversy. How did this guy keep working? And
the Justice League success was a big part of it.
Yeah.
The fact that this is not an A book. This isn't him calling the shots on Detective Comics or Action Comics. And within this little world, this little niche world, he is like Jim Lee. At least at this point, the Legion fandom loved him. He was the big star creator, along with Levitz.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you know much about this stuff, in the world of Mobile Suit Gundam. It has kind of 2 main creators. There's the guy who wrote the scripts and directed a bunch of them, Tomino,
mm-hmm.
and then there's Yasuhiko, who did a bunch of the character designs,
Mm-hmm.
did a bunch of the animation direction and stuff. And I think those two guys, they actually don't really like each other, and they have drastically different visions of what this huge, complex, sprawling type of like media franchise ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they worked together on it at the beginning, but this is a thing that's been going on for like 40 or 50 years now, and one guy does it in one way and the other guy does it in another way.
Okay.
And they kind of have to cross paths every now and then, but I don't think they have the same philosophy of what the
So
Gundam thing should
do they
be.
contradict one another, or do they ultimately have to end up on the same page about it?
I think they have to end up on the same page,
Well,
and
I think-
they're not always involved. I think the Tomino guy is mainly in charge of it.
Right.
I don't know, but one guy is like the writer and one guy's like the artist, the visual element.
I'm sure it's super stressful and unhealthy to work that way, but I think the results can be really, I mean, it's like the Lennon-McCartney thing. They're both like pushing the Beatles in completely different directions, but it sort of benefits the work in the end.
Just to be clear, I was comparing Giffen and Levitz to Tomino and Yasuhiko as like the force behind Legion of Superheroes.
Right.
Like this book, they could have had, in a different world, it would have been Paul Levitz took charge of it with a bunch of different artists. It would have been like the volume 3 or the Baxter era stuff. And then this is what it's like when you give Giffen a chance to run the show for a while. And both are fine. I mean, the Baxter series is terrible in general, but it's fine. This blows it away, in my opinion.
Yeah, overall, for sure. I mean, I think that 2 or 3 issues, like issue 50 last series, I don't know that any one issue of this series is stronger than that issue. Maybe issue 4. Maybe, in my opinion, issue 1 is really, really strong. To me, issue 1 is like a graphic novel crammed into 30 pages.
You wouldn't say that issue 5 is as strong as 50?
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't think so, but I think people do really like this. I think it's a good issue. It's pretty crazy that this came out of left field the way it did. And it's as good as it is. It's kind of mind-blowing that way.
I actually did not buy this on the stands. I decided this was the issue where I thought, okay, now it's too weird for me. So I flipped through it and it looked period PC Lord of the Ringsy, and I don't like fantasy very much.
Oh,
definitely not then. I was more of a sci-fi guy. I'm like, if this is the direction they're going, maybe I'm done. So I stayed away for a couple of issues once I started seeing spaceships again.
Yeah, I wasn't buying it off the stands at this point anyway.
You were still in grade school.
I was. I'm only 19 right now.
I bet you were 29.
What do you think of this cover? It has it looks like it's in like it's in a hobbit hole, and there's a big hourglass, and in the top part of the hourglass you see some futuristic buildings, and in the bottom of the hourglass you see Hobbiton and huts,
right,
with trees and thatched roofs and stuff, and there's snow.
I mean, I don't know. I guess now that you've explained it, now that I've read other people explaining it, I sort of get that more. Like, I get what's going on. But at a glance, I thought this cover was dull. Looking at it now, I can, like, staring at it for several minutes, I can appreciate what it's doing. But like, I remember when I was a kid, it looked pretty dull. When I was looking across the comic shop at all the covers.
Yeah, I think as a kid you would not care about this cover at all, right? But it's kind of kind of sums up the story in a way. Like it's got the hourglass to imply time trapper. And it's got the candle shit, like it's like wizardy stuff, like Mordru, and it's to explain this change between the scientific future that we know into this other kind of Renaissance festival type of world.
I think I probably would have been a little more on the nose had I done it or art directed it. Like, I don't know, pick something iconic like the rocket ship or something on the top, and then have like a hut vaguely in that shape on the bottom or something like that. Maybe not that on the nose, but
yeah, I do like the technique on this. Like, it's line art with I don't know, it's painted or something. There's some like kind of crayon-y texture here and there.
Yeah, like Conte crayon.
Yeah, it's not just regular 4-color process comic book cover.
Yeah,
I believe Tom McGraw did this color.
Yeah. The technology part kind of bothers me. Maybe it's because Giffen is not, at least here, like it's all very rounded tech. It's not very like up and down and technical looking.
Oh, the stuff
organic looking tech
in the top of the hourglass.
It doesn't scream future to me.
It really should be more Yeah, up and down and symmetrical. Yeah, yeah. It should be square, and the bottom one should be organic and sloppy looking, huh? It is brightly colored. Like there's a yellow building and a light blue building and a pink window, whereas everything beneath it is gray and brown. So maybe that's that's where they made their compromise, I guess.
Yeah, I actually like that effect a lot when they to distinguish like buildings in the background when they just like make one solid yellow and then blue and then purple. That's kind of gone nowadays. Yes.
Yeah, they can't do that, or they won't do that.
Even like Dave Gibbons, and I don't know if he was in charge of the colors. I don't know off the top of my head, but like in the Watchmen, all the buildings were like that originally, and then I got like this fancy like absolute Watchmen, right? And it was really nice, but they dulled all those colors down to try to make it look more realistic.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
They did that with the Killing Joke too. Like they had Brian Boland come and recolor it.
That's even a bigger crime, in my opinion, because they changed his bat symbol to make it more consistent with the current brand. Like they got rid of the yellow, you know? So it's a revision in a way.
Well, to me, what's most offensive is that it's the same colorist for both of those books, and they just eradicated him, you know? And like that Killing Joke, like the original colors, like the colors are important, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And then just to go through and make it all just like as literal as possible, I don't know. It's stupid. Yeah. Like you might have made a mistake, Brian Bolland, when you recolored this.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know anything about the Watchmen. I assume it's the same. It's just they made it literal instead of like comic booky.
Right. Like I think it was a deliberate choice in the first one to give it that comic booky color aesthetic, and to give it kind of drab browns and grays takes a lot away from it.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about like, I don't know, this Alan Moore stuff, like it's got its roots in comics books, and it's supposed to be a comic booky thing. Whatever. I mean, comic booky. You know, I know that's kind of a nebulous term, but like, it's not supposed to look real. It's supposed to look like a comic book, and like that's part of the thing.
Right.
And when you take that away, it's like, I don't know, weird,
muddy, boring.
Just another way they're screwing over our wizard Alan Moore.
Our Mordru.
Yeah. The real life Mordru.
Yeah. You know, there was a live action Mordru. I've even seen him. Did you ever see that?
I haven't ever seen that show. I've seen the like the screen grabs or whatever of that guy. He looks pretty intense.
It's on YouTube. When DC had the app, which was kind of like Marvel Unlimited, but it also had TV shows on it, it had that on there. It's like a 100% comic accurate costume and everything. Pretty crazy.
I should find that and watch it sometime. Oh, did you read the little this week's list on the inside cover? I think it has the synopsis for next issue. Like they didn't get the memo that this issue was written on the fly and done in a weekend, and so it has the next issue. What becomes issue 6 is what's solicited here for this week.
That is highly possible, highly likely. I read it as this is going to be way too fucking complicated to explain, so we'll give a more basic description of the plot that is technically correct, that doesn't mention that the reality has been rebooted, because they are facing off Mordru in this issue, and they are getting together in this issue.
Here, I'm going to read this little synopsis that's here for this week's issue, and by the end, we'll see if what happens in these pages is what's here. It says, the new Legion finally begins to mesh, just in time to uncover the fate of one of their deadliest adversaries, Mordru the Merciless. So we're picking up right from the previous issue where Cosmic Boy and Chameleon Boy, they're teaming up and they're about to mesh.
Yeah, but that's your commentary. That was not listed. Like, I don't see, where's the lie here? The new Legion, they're newly introduced and getting together here. They do finally sort of mesh within this issue to take on Mordru.
There is no Legion in this issue.
There is. Just because they're not calling themselves.
I don't know.
You say so. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake, but I don't know.
Well, because in the next issue they really do confront Mordru, the new quote unquote new guys from the first 3 issues. I think they do go and meet Mordru in issue 6. In issue 5 is this, and it's totally different.
Somewhat different.
Yeah, okay, somewhat different from this description.
Now, there's another possibility. It could be that this was written before Levitz or whoever came down on them and made them change plans. with issue 4. Like maybe this was the synopsis was written months in advance, and this is what they originally intended to happen in this issue.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I was trying to say, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Because I think
you were saying that was the issue 6.
I think initially issue 6 would have been in the place of issue 5, but they had to
Right.
shoehorn what we're reading here into it as issue 5, and everything else got pushed down the line by one issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because they said that what, like about half of issue 4 had been done, and then they had to shift gears and had to redo half of, or come up with a new story for half of issue 4, and the entirety of issue 5 is new, I guess, due to corporate interference. So we go, the splash page of this is, it says proclamation, has a bunch of text.
We should mention real briefly that in the last issue, the entire universe got rebooted. So we're starting over in this issue. For more information, see our episode on issue 4. It's way too long and complicated.
Yeah, at the end of issue 4, it seems like the universe has been destroyed, or whatever, life as we know it has been erased, and we're starting fresh. We don't know what the world is like now at the beginning of issue 5.
But we're going to see, we know that the Time Trapper, who was instrumental in the creation of the Legion, will no longer exist because Mon-El destroyed him at the end. So whatever this is what the future would look like without the Time Trapper.
And so this issue opens with a proclamation.
Right.
This is it says the 17th year since Mordru took over the Earth.
Right. And I have read a couple people trying to date that back, like trying to figure out what the significance of 17 years prior was. And the closest explanation, the most logical explanation, is that is somewhat close to when the Legion would have first fought Mordru.
That's totally what I got.
The old continuity. Yeah.
Like I looked up the Bierbaum timeline from the source book, and it puts that issue. It's I wrote it down. Adventure 369. It puts that in 2976 or 77, which would have been 17 years prior to this 2994.
Right.
So yeah, it's as if there was no Legion of Superheroes. Mordru shows up to Earth 17 years ago and takes over everything because George Bailey wasn't there to save that girl for his brother falling in the frozen lake.
Right. And also this proclamation itself is sort of a reflection of how things have changed, because prior issues, many of the prior issues would open with like a iPad type screen with text.
Oh yeah.
And that is being swapped out here for a more scroll like.
Yeah, like this is supposed to evoke the town bulletin board or whatever. And this
is what we have in place of the Daily Planet, or what was the other one called? The
Bugle.
Yeah, Daily Bugle. I'm sorry. Right.
DC's Daily Planet.
Right.
Daily Bugle's where Spider-Man works.
Right. I messed up.
No, you said Daily Planet first.
Oh, I did? You should have kept going. I totally took blame for that.
But yeah, this goes into some detail about curfews and about the badness of science. And
sounds like Florida.
It encourages everyone to feel free to rejoice and celebrate the Emperor Mordru, but make sure you don't stay out past noon, because we will cut your head off if you're out past curfew. It's kind of satirical. It's kind of funny, but dark funny.
Right.
This is the kind of thing that I think Giffen did this kind of stuff in others, in like Ambush Bug. Like he would have a big wall of text that's kind of silly stuff. And this is typeset. It doesn't look as goofy as like if John Costanza did it in an Ambush Bug issue, but it winds up being a send up kind of, or it made me laugh. I thought it was kind of funny.
Right.
And the very last line says, "Violators will be put to death." At the end of this, it's all about celebrating and we're having a great time. If you fuck up, you're going to die.
Right. But still in that courteous language.
Yeah.
Douglas Adams-ish.
Right. And it has this eye symbol.
Oh, right. Like from his hat.
Yes, his hat.
So we're following the point of view of a masked figure who looks very familiar.
Was he familiar to you?
Yeah.
Like, I guess if you were a Legion head, you would get the idea that this guy is...
Yeah, I mean, there are basically, there's only like one masked figure in the Legion world.
Right. Well, there's Persuader, but he's a bad guy.
Yeah, and I guess Censor Girl. And,
yeah.
But yeah, It doesn't take much to. It's pretty easy to guess who that is. What about this person in the middle, though?
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of Polar Boy here, just for one panel, right?
I think it is. I think it is.
Like he's homeless and he's living out there in the snow.
Right.
It's the masked guy is Andrew Nolan. We knew him as Pharaoh Lad, who died killing the Sun Eater.
He bravely sacrificed himself to save the universe.
Right. And he's wandering around this medieval looking place, but there is some technology still around.
Mm-hmm. Like what tech do we see here?
Oh, in the second panel, it's like there's some kind of computer
Smashed
screen that's smashed. It actually looks like one of those things of the drive-in movie, the speaker at the drive-in.
Oh, right.
He must be walking through a drive-in movie theater.
That's right, because up until Mordru took over 17 years ago, they would have had a normal future.
It would have been
technological future.
Yeah, but he's got this internal monologue going, and he's talking. He's lamenting the friends who have been killed by Mordru and
other resistance fighters.
Right. He mentions Vidar as somebody who's fighting against Mordru.
Right, and his brother, I believe.
Yeah, he says Douglas, who we know was his twin mutant brother.
Mm-hmm.
He also says Jacques, who probably is Invisible Kid 2.
Right.
And Celeste, who he's talking about Celeste Rockfish, who will be a character in the series.
Right.
A couple issues from now. But he's going to church.
Do you think is Breck Foxmore?
I think Foxmore is somebody else. I think Foxmore shows up again later in the series. When the world returns to normal. But I think he is a creation of whatever this current team. And I don't know if he has a face or if they just mention his name.
Right. So he's meeting up with Misa, right? Misa.
Yep.
How do you pronounce it?
I say Misa. I don't know how you're supposed to say it.
Is that what Jar Jar Binks always said?
Mm-hmm. He'd say Misa horny.
I knew you were going to do that. If you didn't do it, I would have. Yeah, so they're in a very is it like a Catholic world?
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. It's like you would think that in a world where Mordru took over everything and turned everything to magic, like their religion maybe would be something weird where they're worshiping dragons or something.
Right.
Nah, it's just regular old Catholicism.
Right.
In the cathedral.
So is this actually the first we've seen of her 5 years later? I can't remember if she popped up.
I don't remember either. No, I don't. I think it is the first time she's been in it. And she has changed. This Misa is the White Witch from the olden times. She had weird antenna eyelashes. She was all white, long white hair.
Though first showed up, she didn't look anything like that. Like in the Silver Age.
Oh, that's right. She was a beautiful babe with kind of like strawberry blonde hair, right?
Right. So something about taking on the mantle of the White Witch, I think, transformed her into that antenna lady.
But I thought she was the White Witch when she was in that original kind of appearance. Like she was the old hag, and then she was this girl with red hair, and then she was and I wonder if there was just no explanation between the two looks until much later.
Right. I mean, I don't remember them specifically addressing it, but obviously they're touching back. It isn't just like, we're hoping you forgot that old look, because just assumed that she was always the antenna lady, because we see her obviously here and going forward as a more humanoid, non-antenna last lady.
Yeah, you're right. But Pharaoh Lad, I'm going to call him Pharaoh Lad instead of Andrew Nolan. I like their superhero names. He's here to talk to Misa and get some information out of her. She is Mordru's girlfriend, or in his harem or something.
Yeah, she does end up one of his wives. I don't know if she's a wife here or not. No, I think she is a wife.
Yeah, one of his wives. Yeah.
Lucky bastard.
She explains to Pharaoh Lad that Mordru tells her all these crazy stories of another world, and this time she's got a real important one.
Was he talking in his sleep?
This is a real lazy page here where Giffen drew the same panel 5 times, or photocopied the same panel 5 times. There's a lot of pages like that in this where he just gets this same panel repeated.
He does that a lot, but I think it works when you have a dense, 9-panel grid, page after page after page. It kind of makes it easier.
Yeah, it's usually
process
fine.
And read.
There's one later on in this issue where I'm like, you could have done a little bit more. Whatever. I don't mind it most of the time. Oh yeah, he talks in her sleep. Is that where she gets the stories from? I thought he was telling her the stories.
Yeah, he probably was.
So then this page is all about, this is the Sun Eater story as told by Mordru.
And it's illustrated in kind of is it supposed to be like a church glass kind of?
Yeah, it's either like a stained glass kind of look or like a stone carving kind of look almost. Like it's in color, so it can't be that, but it has this kind of chunky, religious iconography almost kind of look to it. But it's just the Sun Eater story and the story of Pharaoh Lad dying to kill the Sun Eater.
Right.
And I wondered why they did that. They've chosen Pharaoh Lad to be kind of the main character in this story, like the audience point of view character. And then the story that they choose to have Misa tell him is the Sun Eater story, where the original Pharaoh Lad died, or the other universe's Pharaoh Lad dies.
Well, I think it's intended. I think that kind of plays out at the end, right? He ends up having to kind of sacrifice himself to save her.
Yeah.
And as we see him through here, he's very reluctant, maybe even a little cowardly, like he doesn't really want to do any of this. In fact, he even walks away towards the end before he has a change of heart. So maybe this is to kind of imply, you weren't always such a chicken shit.
Yeah. I was thinking they just also maybe just wanted to have a Pharaoh Lad story under their belt. Like this, maybe they thought this guy was underused, and it's like we'll never be able to use him for anything really, because he's set in stone. This guy is dead, the first one who ever got killed, or I guess the first one ever got really killed. So they decided to make him a higher profile character in this one.
Right, and having him there really highlights how different this universe is. This guy who's been long dead. That's kind of a go-to trope with like alternate realities.
Yeah, they've kind of given Pharaoh Lad the opportunity to grow up, and he mentions that he has a wife and kids now. And in a way, like you said, he kind of mans up by the end,
right,
to try and save her. Whereas, he's been a resistance fighter, but he's also kind of fallen into complacency about not putting too much on the line.
I call him a coward, but I completely sympathize. Like, not that I'd want to go to war anyway, but especially if I do have a wife and kid, I'd be like, fuck that.
Right.
I'll look after my kid.
Yeah, and that's a character trait they even give him. Like, he's talking about Rond Vidar. Like, he doesn't have anything to lose except his life.
Right.
This one part, it's the fourth panel where this story of the Sun Eater is all written in like silly rhyme. In the fourth panel, they're describing the team who sets out to stop the Sun Eater, and it says, "The Knights of the 30, under the sign of the Jewel, united they stood against the death cloud so cruel." The death cloud's a Sun Eater.
Right.
The Knights of the 30, I guess, it's the Legionnaires.
30th century.
Is that what it is? 30th century? Yeah. I thought it meant there was 30 of them, and there wasn't ever 30 of them.
No.
And I'm like, in that story, they kind of team up with the Fatal Five, but even then, there wasn't 25 Legionnaires if you add in the Fatal Five.
That's what I was wondering, if that was the significance of the jewel, but that doesn't make sense the more I think about it. The Emerald Empress didn't have a jewel.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that it was the Gem World from Amethyst, because that's kind of tied into Mordru, but I also don't see where they would have gotten that from. Maybe it's just I don't know. Give us some ideas or something.
Yeah. We see, looks like we have Superboy kind of alluded to here. The guy with the red cape.
Right.
Somebody on fire. I guess that's Sunboy.
Yeah, I couldn't pick out any of the other ones besides those two.
Right.
But then on the next page, it cuts to Rond Vidar with the shitty 90s skater haircut.
Right.
And Pharaoh Lad has just explained this story and some other story to Rond Vidar. Rond Vidar is collecting all these stories, and he's gotten to the point where he thinks all this shit really happened. All these stories that Mordru tells as fables to his girlfriends.
Right. He's sort of deciphering the stuff. It's kind of the like the magic equivalent of what he was in the previous reality, where he's like a time expert.
Oh yeah, that's right. He wasn't. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, huh?
Yeah.
That explains why they even used him, because I kind of thought he's such a nothing character. Like he's been around forever and they use him a lot, but he's just like, he's such a nobody.
I like him because I feel like we watched him grow up, because he was clearly a kid when he first showed up.
I wonder if they had the idea of tying him in with Mordru a little bit more. Like in the last issue, we saw Mordru torturing Rond Vidar and destroying his Green Lantern ring and stuff like that.
Right.
And then he's one of the main adversaries against Mordru in this issue. I can't remember what they did with him down the line, if he ever had cross paths again with Mordru.
I can't remember which book or interview I read it from, but I think Giffen wanted to kill him, wanted to get rid of him, and the Bierbaums convinced him to keep him around.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
I think Giffen didn't have much use for him either.
Yeah, I'm with Keith on this one.
Well, later on, I think he plays an important role as the guy who ends up getting the girl that Brainiac 5 ignored.
Yeah, that's true. I guess they need him for that, but
right,
still could have killed him after that.
Well, they did worse. They killed his wife. But
oh yeah,
that's for a later podcast.
But Ron Vidar's trying to bring down Mordru.
He needs to fix time so he can get a better haircut.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Ron DeSantis' yearbook, and he looks like that. He has that haircut.
Younger than us, I think. He's younger than me for sure. He might be your age.
I thought you and I were the same age.
I'm way older than you. I'm so much more mature. I notice in my head, I subconsciously keep bumping up authority figures. Like as I get older, like when I got into my 30s, I was like, there's no way Superman's 25. He has to be 35. Or then he is going to be 36. And I keep bumping him up.
Yeah, I mean, how could you take him seriously if he's only 25 or 29 or whatever?
Right.
Superman? Just come on.
Yeah, it's true. But I think some of that is like, like when he first showed up, like, people who were 25 had already come home from the war and started families and shit. But now, like, most 25-year-olds still live with their parents.
Yeah, life doesn't even start until you're 40 anymore. This next page, it starts with a little pan across a beautiful snowy earth scene, and they show this blonde lady.
It almost seems like she's Dream Girl at first. She even has some of the personality of her.
Right. We wouldn't know who she is, really.
Right, because she'd only showed up one time, right? In the Silver Age, Glorith.
Yeah, once or twice. Yeah, this is Glorith. But yeah, I think probably if you were reading this fresh, you wouldn't really thought about Glorith. She looks like Dream Girl. And they don't call her Glorith until whatever the last couple of pages or something. But she's Mordru's number one wife.
Like the first lady he married, or the highest ranking one? Or?
I guess just the highest rank. She doesn't seem like maybe she's older than Misa was. I don't know. You can't tell. They all kind of look the same age.
Very strange looking servant.
Oh yeah, he's got a little smokestack on the top of his head.
Right, and some strange, very strange. Is that a mustache? What is that? Oh, those are his hands. Those are his hands that he's praying.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what the hell is what kind of mustache?
Oh, yeah. I didn't get a mustache out of that.
I thought it was coming out of his nose.
He has like that. There's like a cartoon character who, like the old general guy with the big old bushy mustache, or the mayor always has that.
Right.
That's what he looks like. But he's interrupted her reverie out there in the snow. For some reason, there's still snow on Earth in 2994. But Mordru must have fixed that somehow.
Well, remember, climate change doesn't mean it's not going to still be snowy and cold certain places. Just different places.
I guess so. Yeah, there'll be a blizzard, right, for a month, probably. You're right. But she gets interrupted by this guy with the crazy mustache. She has to go speak to Mano. I always have said Mano. Maybe it's Mono.
I would say Mano, too.
Yeah. But like his power is that he has one hand that can, destroy you. And Mono is Spanish for hand. So I don't know.
I think I knew that was Spanish.
I bet there's a lot of languages that use mono for hand.
Yeah.
But I think I'll probably keep calling him Mano until the end of my days. But he looks pretty cool. I like the way he looks, where he's just a head filled in with black with like a blue cloud around it.
Yeah, it looks really great.
He looks pretty cool. But there's some... what would you call it?
You were about to say something about her butt cheeks, I believe.
No, I wasn't yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she hangs around in her undies a lot, I guess. No, I was going to mention that they drop a lot of little Easter eggs about other Legionnaire stuff. Mano's like a general for Mordru, and I guess he has just got back from Lalor, which we know is a planet of other heroes, and I guess he kills all the resistance fighters on Lalor. And kills Garth Rands and Ayla Rands, the lightning lad and lass.
So some things seem to continue to progress in a similar fashion to the way they would have before. The more I think about it, if only Earth, is he controlling the whole universe? Surely it's the whole universe, not just Earth, right?
I think it is. I think if we remember back to his intro in that issue of Adventure Comics. Yeah, Jim Shooter kind of set it up where he's this galactic conqueror. Like it said, he annihilates galaxies with his powers. He's such a formidable sorcerer. So yeah, I think he hasn't just taken over Earth. He's taken over almost everything, I guess, is probably the idea here.
So the Ranzes probably didn't crash a spaceship and, attack by lightning beasts or use them to jumpstart their ship. It was probably some Hobbit equivalent of that. Like their horse and carriage broke down.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I guess it kind of remains to be seen, I guess. Like it could have happened the same way because maybe they were on a technology planet, just like they always were.
Right. I guess that's what I'm wondering. Is it just Earth? This is Earth, right? I guess I don't even know that definitively.
Oh, it is. Yeah, she mentions that it's Earth.
Is it just Earth, or all the planets that are in this medievalish?
Yeah, I don't know. Could just be Earth. It could just be the Mordru owned planets.
Oh, right.
I'm kind of curious now that I'm thinking about it, like how like Ferrolad is from Earth, I think. I'm not sure Ron Vidar was from Earth before because he's the son of Universo. That guy doesn't look like he's from Earth. He has pointy ears and stuff. So I'm not sure how Ron Vidar got to Earth. So maybe it's just like, I don't know, fast and loose.
I'm sure about that either because he doesn't have pointy ears.
Yeah, I guess, they're just playing fast and loose. They're doing whatever they want. You can do whatever you want. This is a fantastic made-up thing just for one issue. So
I'm also trying to figure out how General Mano here could take out a duplicate boy.
Maybe there is no duplicate boy.
Right. He's kind of a dummy. So
yeah, really dumb piece of shit. But he says, no sign of any paranormals having survived the blast. And meanwhile, he's looking at a little snow globe that has the Legion headquarters, or the classic upside down rocket ship Legion headquarters inside the snow globe. Great idea for some merch. Wish they would have come out with one of these.
Right. Would have looked good on the cover.
Yeah, I think they should have had this on the cover, huh?
Yeah.
Would have been much more logical. Just didn't think of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But she says she wants Mano to start surveilling somebody.
I was going to say, like, the way she dresses here at the end, too, this is basically what Dream Girl looks like in 5 years later. Like she's had a dress like that and she keeps her hair up like that. So,
yeah, they really want us to think this is Dream Girl, huh? I didn't really think of it until you mentioned it, but it's like, oh yeah, they really do want us to think this is Dream Girl as the bad guy. And they purposely don't name her, and they have her act like Dream Girl kind of would, like she's kind of like like she's sexy and she lounges around and she stretches and stuff like that, and puts on a big show.
Yeah, I think maybe it is like intentional misdirection.
Yeah. This next page, it really just explains to us this whole concept of the how we got to the Renaissance Festival version of Earth versus the science fiction version of Earth. Ron Vidar is sitting here out in the snow, and he draws us the Doc Brown chalkboard diagram of alternate timelines. And I mean, it helps, I suppose. It does seem a little bit over-explainy, but maybe that's just to a guy who's seen this a million times, and like alternate realities and alternate timelines is second nature to me at this point. Maybe they thought everyone didn't quite get this back then.
Right. And hindsight is 2020. We've read this entire run and read lots of books about it. If you had just picked up this issue, or even if you'd read the one before, it would still be pretty fucking confusing, I think, at first read. So
yeah, this would totally be extremely confusing if this was, for some reason, somehow, this was your first issue of reading Legion of Superheroes.
I think it would be less confusing that way, in a way, because if you just pick this up and it isn't even 100% evident if you had read issue 4 why this would happen when you open the next issue. Once you understand what's going on, the full idea, like, it does make sense, but I mean, this has to lay out the whole idea, like why we need to replace Superboy, why we need to get the RJ Brand into the future.
Yeah, but that's not even on this page, I guess. This page is just explaining to us the idea of an alternate timeline, because the old one got wiped out. He does say something about the Puppet Master.
Puppet Master, yeah. Yeah, a lot of puppety things. Like the cover to the next issue is puppetish.
Finger
puppets. He's got like little finger puppets on his hand. Yeah. And I think that's the symbolic idea of the cover, right? Like he's manipulating them.
Right. And this is the second time that, here Ron Vidar thinks to himself, how can I believe in this fantasy? And then earlier, Fairlad's on his case about collecting all this information that he could be beheaded for having. All just to elaborate on this fantasy that he has, that there's another world that he could somehow reinstate, or there's another world that's better that we could have.
Yeah, it's like QAnon.
Right.
I just want to briefly mention on the right, we have Batman Digital Justice, which I thought was killer when I was a kid. Have you read it?
I never read it. I like this guy, Pepe Moreno. He has it was a thing in heavy metal. It wasn't all computer generated, I don't think, but it looked super cool. I think he's probably a good underrated cartoonist. I don't know what this Batman thing is about. This looks a little weird, but it probably also looks cool. I don't know. I think he's probably really a good cartoonist and storyteller.
It's really neat to look at. It's worth checking out online if you get a chance.
I think my brother bought it when it came out. Like it was a hardbound graphic novel. I bet my brother got the paperback if there's a paperback eventually.
Yeah, everything's very chiseled and deliberately chunky, pixely.
Yeah.
The designs are really cool. And strangely, like at the exact same time, Marvel did almost an identical story with Iron Man.
Right. The Iron Man one is that Mike Saines guy who did Shatter. Shatter was an okay comic. I mean, I read maybe 2 of them. It's real like Blade Runner, I guess.
Right. This is too.
Yeah. But I think Pepe Moreno is more from like the Euro heavy metal kind of end of comics, while Mike Saines is an American guy he's like Shatter was from like First Comics or something, it's like like the minor leagues comic books of America is kind of where he came from versus whatever the business is like in Europe at the same time.
Right.
But this drawing of Batman looks pretty cool. This looks more like I think it was called Rebel. It was something that was in heavy metal by Pepe Moreno. Just pretty cool looking comic too. Yeah, I should read this. I'll check it out one of these days.
Moving along.
Here's this panel again. The same drawing of Pharaoh Lad and Misa at church.
Oh, I guess we definitely do have some tech that still functions because of the surveillance.
Yeah. These guys, they're watching these people with some satellite technology and some kind of surveillance technology. And then, over here on this page, you see that Glorith has the Omnicom type of device.
Right.
So I think only what do they call them on the first page here? The first citizens, uppercase. Those guys maybe have iPads, and regular citizens who are trampled under the iron boot of the first citizens have nothing, and they have to break curfew to hunt for rats to eat, as if they were in North Korea.
These fellows have like Punisher skulls painted on their faces.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's Universo.
They say his name later in the issue, though.
Oh, okay.
And there's another guy that shows up that has this, like the top level, the guys who are directly beneath Mano have this shit on their face, these silly looking skull things in their faces. That's another one of those things that reminds me of that sketch, that comedy sketch with the Are We the Baddies Nazi comedy sketch.
I watched that recently.
Like, could these guys think of themselves as the good guys? Like, I have to have a skull painted on my face. I'm one of the good ones,
I watched that on YouTube after you told me about it, and I think I've seen it before. Are they deliberately not Nazis? Because they're not Nazis.
They're comedians.
Well, yeah, I know.
No, they are Nazis, right?
No.
Like they're in like SS uniforms or something, aren't they?
I think they're wearing like some kind of nondescript, like generic Nazi-ish thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I got the impression that they're supposed to be Nazis.
Right.
And maybe all that Nazi iconography is like, it has that skull shit on it, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you maybe know the uniform better than me.
What are you trying to say, man? What are you trying to say?
You're Mr. Nazis. Mr. Nazi over here. He knows all the history. Yeah, Farrell just goes and meets her again for more info.
Right. And to bring back to Vidar, and he is being monitored, as he walks from one place to another.
This issue throughout has like bad repro. Did you notice that? Like even on the online one, where I guess they just had to scan this, like there's a lot of black line dropout on these guys and then across here. And it kind of just comes and goes throughout the issue. I wish it didn't look so bad. I bet the reprint in like the omnibus looks like this too. Like they don't have a complete version of this. It's kind of lame.
Yeah.
And like this text right here on the iPad, It's kind of starting to drop out and fade away.
Yeah. Is it a printing thing? Because those are both down where I'm noticing it. No, I guess maybe. Well, the wives only and the skull are more or less parallel.
Yeah, but I think it's in every, like, it's not like I got a bad copy that wasn't printed right. Like, I've seen other, like, I have 2 of these, I know, you know, and the website one looks bad. I don't know. I think somehow just the film or something was underexposed or something, maybe, because it's, you know, it's been kind of bad here and there before, prior to this. I think like this page doesn't look quite right. Maybe more so later on in the issue, I notice it. Yeah, it sucks. I want to see these drawings.
Yeah.
But on the next page, it just continues with the surveillance video. Like they put the rounded corners on the panels of these top 3 to show us that these guys are being watched from afar, and then it reveals that they're being watched by Glorith, and she sexily turns off the screen with her foot and then lounges back on her bed full of pillows, dream girl style.
Right. She seems taken by Vidar, who I guess she was watching change.
Oh yeah, that explains the beefcake there, huh? She was interested in him physically, as well as for what he can do for her career, I guess.
I don't think that ever played out after this anywhere, but that would have been interesting.
What,
if like the next time they encountered Glorith, if she made some comment about him.
Oh, like Ron Vidar's got a big dick.
right.
I saw him naked in another timeline.
Right.
Could have been that. Actually, I think now that you mention it, there might have been something like that, but it's been so long ago since I read that stuff.
Right.
Like, didn't Glorith have some kind of crush or some kind of like she wanted it
for Valor? But maybe not.
I bet it was. You're probably right. It's for Valor.
Yeah, I can't remember. But this is the era. Like you've got a main lady character, a villain. She's going to be very sexual.
Yeah, and they show her in her underwear a lot. But in this panel, when she's lounging, she's covered up pretty good.
Yeah.
Wonder why they did it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had to. Someone told them that wasn't going to fly, and they had to add some creases there and color it differently. Like maybe they originally intended her to be wearing less.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like thong underwear in this era.
Yeah,
I'm not super crazy about. Like it's kind of embarrassing to me, I guess. But like
Giffen even like totally into having the cheeks flapping around, right?
Right. The girls are wearing the ankle underwear. Yeah, it's riding up their ass.
Yeah.
And like
and
super
Laurel Gand,
Laurel
she just
Gand,
wears like a thong as her bottom pants.
That's one of the reasons I think I like Innemann's drawings of her better. Like she's a little more covered.
Yeah. But I mean, if you watch like pro volleyball games, like I do all the time, all summer long, they kind of wear shorts that are kind of like that.
Yeah.
That kind of cut way up sometimes. They also probably
Well, I need to watch more then. Super tall, beautiful athletes.
They might also have some like knee length ones too. I don't know. That's those kind of outfits have gotten way more, way less modest as time has gone on, I guess is what I was trying to say.
For sure.
And I guess maybe it's just because the material they're made out of they'll stay in place. You know, like if you wear like cotton shorts that hike up into your crack, pretty soon they're just like all the way up there, no matter what you do. But like if you have stuff that's like, 80% elastic, it'll stay where you put it, even if you're running around playing volleyball. I think that's my understanding of it. After really analyzing a volleyball game, college and older volleyball games.
I haven't caught many, but girls volleyball players are always super hot. It seems like.
I mean, I'm in California. We can go down to the beach and watch a volleyball game and. Ultimate frisbee and whatever, it's just it's out there in public, it's free.
I just whenever I've seen like girls volleyball players on TV or in magazines, they're all like Amazons or like model-esque girls, but they're like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Oh,
but speaking of girls jacking off, I was looking at this. Since we're talking
a girl jacking off to the physical appearance of a man,
specifically a superhero man,
right? It's very much a man's idea of a woman's sexuality,
right? I was looking at this Ferrolad issue and or this Ferrolad hardcover, right?
Yeah.
And they flash forward to it's one of the Adult Legion stories that happened after he died.
Is it the Adult one, the big adult.
It's either or it's the second part of that maybe. Where is it? But it shows. Oh, it was so weird. You'll get a kick out of this. Maybe you'll even remember it.
I love this story. I love how they've got like Brainiac 5 has a pipe and
uh-huh. Yeah, and Cosmic Boy's like got this receding hairline.
Timberwolf has a mustache. Wow, there's a lot of good stories in there.
I was surprised. This is on matte paper. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I have a few of those, and they all look really good. I don't have that specific one, but I have like those Batman giants were collected like that.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, that was the only way you could get any of that. The crazy like Rainbow Batman and
yeah, that stuff's starting to come out,
Alien.
or it's been out maybe even for a while.
They just put out a omnibus of it.
Well, shit, I
mold off stuff.
Yeah, it's a great couple of panels of like Emerald Empress.
Oh.
And she's in her room, and it's either Mano or Tharok, like, comes in her room without knocking, right?
Uh-oh.
She's like laying on the bed,
mm-hmm.
and she's holding a picture of Superboy, I think.
Oh, no.
And she's like, don't you knock? I'm busy. It was so strange. Now I can't find it again.
Mano.
Here it is, right here. She says, didn't you ever learn to knock? I have no need for knocking. I enter where I please. And she's like reclined on this couch and she's looking at a picture of Superboy. And she's like, state your business and leave. I'm busy. Like, I assume there's stuff earlier in the story where she's lusting after Superboy or something, Emerald Empress.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just weird. Like, she's laying in bed by herself, busy, just looking at a picture of Superboy.
Right. Well, that's good. There should be more of that in the Legion, at least when they're kids, bitching about going into each other. Were you in my room?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a big issue for kids, isn't it?
For sure.
I mean, I guess I still, well, I don't have any things.
Out of my room.
I don't have anything secret in my adult bedroom, I guess. But
right. I guess I don't care if my wife comes in here, as long as she doesn't try to clean anything.
Next page is, it starts out with Mano talking about a spy satellite that got exploded. And he's trying to get to the bottom of it. And he's talking to another one of these skull-faced dudes.
Did we skip over a reason for that, or did they do something to blow it up?
The reason this happened is because Glorith got these dudes to do some spying for her off the books. And then, since she's also trying to get on the bandwagon of taking out Mordru, she doesn't want anybody else to know that she'd ordered this surveillance. And so she blew up the satellite that did the surveillance and blew up the two Punisher skull guys who did it.
Oh, okay.
It took me a couple of reads to figure that out, that it's Glorith covering her tracks. Or it's maybe Dream Girl covering her tracks. We still don't know who she is at this point.
Right.
But Mano is suspicious, and he's trying to find out what she was spying on, because he intercepts some of this first wife's eyes only messages. And he explains that these two Punisher face guys are called, they're agents 5AJ and 5HY. AJ and High. They're dead now.
Mano is a lot less incompetent in this world. He's like scarier, I think, than he normally is.
Yeah. I think he was never that scary, even though he had a pretty... I don't know, didn't he blow up a planet or something? Maybe that's in this series, where he puts his hand down and blows up a whole asteroid or something. Something insane.
Does he just blow shit up by touching him?
I think so.
Things he touched die, I can't remember. So he's like the human bomb?
I guess so. I guess I don't really know. I know you don't want to get touched by that hand of his.
Right.
Like, the hand is a scary part of him, but like, he's got this black void head with blue flames around it, and he usually wears a fishbowl helmet.
Right.
But that's not really the scary, dangerous part of him. It's his hand.
Yeah.
And if he takes that glove off and gets you, you're done for. Oh, here he refers to her as Glorith. I think maybe this page is the first time anyone calls her Glorith. I thought it was a little bit later. I missed this one. So now we know it's Glorith and not Dreamgirl.
He's kind of the scary loyalist character who would possibly turn Glorith.
Yeah, I think he benefits from maintaining the status quo. He must acknowledge that he can't ever really unseat Mordru. So he's in a good position as things are. But Glorith has a thirst for power. And so here's Ron Vidar. He's going to try and do some kind of ritual, some kind of Catholic ritual to return.
Jerking off in the snow.
Yeah, he takes off all his clothes. And Glorith is watching him. And somehow she uses her own powers to help him along. She says he wouldn't have been able to do it alone, to do the ritual that helps him see Mordru's dreams of the other world. And so Glorith helps him somehow. And then he sees it all. He sees the I guess it's kind of the creation of the Legion of Superheroes through the eyes of Mordru. Like last issue we kind of saw the creation of the Legion of Superheroes through the eyes of the Time Trapper and his point of view. Now it's kind of the perspective of Mordru. We see a little bit of Mordru's origin. This is young Mordru right here.
Young Mordru.
On the Gem World.
Which is how I think that is more often than not how he's depicted these days. Probably because he's more of a 20th century character. Shows up a lot in modern comics as a younger guy. But if you were like to look his entry up online, it's a picture of a younger Mordru.
Oh yeah, I did that today. I was like, what's his first appearance? And it's like this young guy with the dark blue costume and the long straight black hair or dark brown hair.
No cool eyeball hat.
I know it. Like that hat is the coolest thing.
Right.
And he's purple and green and he's got a hat with wings on it. Right. But then the young version isn't like that at all. The in the Amethyst miniseries, which this is kind of recalling these panels here, it's all drawn by that guy Esteban Maroto. He's Spanish. I think he's Spanish. I don't know if maybe he's South American. But he has this really rad kind of 70s pop art almost kind of look to it, you know?
This is the first run?
No, this is the Amethyst miniseries that occurred after the main run of Amethyst. Then they had a deluxe format 4-issue miniseries that was by Giffen and Mindy Newell and Esteban Maroto.
Okay. And Ernie Colan was previous series?
Yeah, I think Amethyst began as a 12-issue miniseries, and that was by Mishkin and Cohn were the writers, and Ernie Colon was like a co-writer and drew it.
I need to read those.
Then there was another series, like a regular series, but I think it didn't go for more than 12 issues either. And that was some of that was by Rick Estrada, and then I think Cologne came on later, and then Giffen began the writing of that towards the end of it.
Yeah, I always wrote it off. I thought it was like Warlord or something. Only like I thought first of all, I thought Warlord was a toy line, like a knockoff He-Man toy line. And I thought Amethyst was like a girl, like some sort of girl toy line. Because it seemed so removed from DC proper that I thought this must be some toy tie-in.
I've read some of them. I haven't really read the Giffen ones except that miniseries. The miniseries was not good. It set up this kind of like the Mordru origin that it puts in there. Yeah. Not that great. Not very interesting for a guy who's supposed to be this annihilating galaxies with his magic conqueror shit, you know, but like for a kind of a mystical I don't know, princess adventure comic kind of thing, it was fun. It kind of was easy going, you know, of what I read of the original stuff. Ernie Cologne artwork is pretty good.
Is she from like the modern regular world and she travels there and becomes like Adam Strange a little bit, like Shazam a little bit?
Yeah, or even like Harry Potter a little bit. Like she grew up here on regular Earth as a regular kid, but then it turns out that she's adopted or she's not actually from here and she's actually a princess on Gem World. Then she never knew about it. And then there's some trouble on Gem World, so the people who hid her away on Earth come and take her back to Gem World so she can take control, I think is kind of how it is. Okay.
I thought she traveled back and forth maybe, but no.
She probably does, but I think eventually she just stays there, and like they do some kind of shenanigans where the people who raised her on Earth just forget, you know, like they were her fucking parents, but then we're just gonna erase their memories, erase everybody's memories. I think that's what happened, something like that. But then she becomes once Giffen takes over, she becomes a Lord of Order, of course.
Does she end up more tied into the Legion later, like during the Archie days, or?
Well, not during that. I don't think she herself really ever becomes anything too important to Legion. Gem World becomes the Sorcerer's World, where all the Amethyst adventures take place. That's the Sorcerer's World. And the Amethyst character, the Lord of Order, Amethyst Princess of Gem World, like somehow like literally becomes the planet, I think.
Just kind of like Magic War stuff.
Yeah, in the Magic Wars, they blow up the Sorcerer's World and she is like killed. I guess, quote unquote killed. But then later in this volume 4 stuff, Misa, White Witch, gets looped in with the Amethyst power somehow too. I don't really remember the details.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's in issue, 55 or something. But really all you need to know is that they got a boring origin story for Mordru, and it's in the Amethyst 4-issue miniseries by Giffen.
Okay, so they exchange. They're showing, is this supposed to be a young RJ Brand?
Oh yeah, this is these are panels from, I have it right here. These are panels from Legion 89, issue 9. And it came out, well, this issue, number 5, is cover dated March 90. And this issue, Legion 89, number 9, is from November 89.
Nice to have that issue.
We got 5 months difference.
This is 5 months before?
Right. Okay. 5 months prior to Legion 5 coming out is Legion 89. And it's when Phantom Girl shows up in this series. But yeah, the this character, this Durlin character, is like a main character for the first handful of these issues. This guy. And then just out of the blue, this one dude, I don't know who he is, he's having a conversation with the Durlin, and then he's switched with this Phantom Girl looking character.
Right.
I don't think they, like, there's no Tom and Mary Bierbaum working on Legion 89. I don't know. I can't imagine that Giffen had this in the back of his mind, that we're doing this comic book and tying it into this Phantom Girl Durlin switcheroo thing, you know? Like, they had to have realized or decided that would be a good plot point in issue 5 here. But I can't imagine that Giffen had that in his mind when he did it 5 months ago, 6 months ago in Legion 89. It's weird. It's kind of a mystery to me.
So specific, though.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it had to have been something he planned on dealing with in Legion of Superheroes at some point, right?
I guess so. I don't know. In issue 2 of the 5 Years Later series, where they explain that, or they begin to explain the absence of Phantom Girl from the life of Ultra Boy. They don't talk about this Durlin character, who has been a character in Invasion, I think, and in Legion 89. They don't really talk about him. But yeah, for some reason, Giffen decided that as a way to bring Phantom Girl into Legion 89, this is what he would do. So yeah, maybe he did have the idea that the Durlin was RJ Brand, and this is how the only way I can get him into the future is to do something like this. Right. But maybe I can't imagine the MORDRU-VERSE story was in any way part of that. I know it wasn't, because we've read the Tom and Mary Bierbaum story where we had to come up with this right on the fly.
Right. I've never followed the Legion 89 stuff, so I mean the significance was lost on me, like why RJ Brand needs to come from the 20th century. But I'm sure it makes more sense if I was following the other book.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I never read them either. Like, I kind of skimmed that issue 9. I haven't really read any of the others. I might have read the first issue once upon a time. But yeah, I mean, Giffen's kind of a weird creator in that way. Like, that is such a one-off thing, this scenario where he just instead of having this guy, I'm going to get rid of him and put in this Phantom Girl character. And they don't explain that it's Phantom Girl, I don't think, ever. And I think maybe they even might back off and say that actually never was Phantom Girl. I can't remember.
It is so freaking annoying, by the way. This is about as jarring an example as I've ever seen. You've got the Time Trapper and then the Durlin. I thought that was the Time Trapper.
Yeah, me too. And this panel down here I thought was the Time Trapper, like traveling through time. It's not. Right. It's the Durlin traveling through time.
I mean, how hard is it just to give the robe a different color? Maybe the colorist doesn't know they're different characters, but it happens over and over again.
Yeah, the Durlins always are in a purple robe.
Right, and there's some other purple robe. Maybe the controllers? It seems like everyone who wears a hood has a purple robe.
Yeah.
In Legion.
Yeah, it must be because you can't do a black robe.
Right.
You don't want it to be blue, because then they'll look like a hero or something. So maybe purple is just where you land. I don't know.
I guess so.
But yeah, I was wondering if there was maybe some significance to the idea that the Durlin just kind of looks like the Time Trapper. But I don't know. I don't know where to go with that idea.
It's very confusing. And if you were reading this 10-year-old or something, you'd be completely lost.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and like Giffen even draws the time trapper like this. Like sometimes you can be like,
Right.
oh, the cowl area is a little bit different or something.
Right.
But he interchanges the way they're drawn.
Well, right. And like that Legion 89 you were showing me, it looked like they had some tentacles coming out of the face, which he doesn't do here. It looks like he stuck one on the bottom there, but it's not all that distinct.
Yeah, like that's his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love that time travel effect of the rainbow colors.
That is pretty cool. I think that's I think Tom McGraw is responsible for the rainbow effect. I guess maybe they used to draw like a line and it would look like kind of a rainbow, like separated out. I don't know if they always did rainbow. They might have always done a solid color. Mm-hmm. But I remember, you know, as time goes on throughout this series and in the rebooted period, Tom McGraw is always working on it, and I think he does rainbow for the time stream stuff.
Right, but it doesn't look this cool, I don't think. Like it's just more like a gradient or something later.
Oh yeah,
right? It doesn't have all that, I don't know, Kirby crackle or whatever.
Oh yeah, that has like the black, like plasma looking stuff, huh?
I mean, I would still rather just see the numbers floating by. It's my favorite.
I do. That's the way to do it. Yeah. The writing on this page. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be like Ron Vidar seeing Mordru's dream. Mm-hmm. And some of it is like the text, some of it is like first person, like it's Mordru saying what he's seeing or saying what's happening. Mm-hmm. But then it changes here and maybe elsewhere where it says, yes, it all fits. The link, it's breaking up. Like it switches from Mordru's voice back to Ron Vidar's voice. Mm-hmm. But you can't tell because the balloons are the same color. The caption boxes are the same pink color. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I feel like maybe, I don't know if I'm reading it right or if I'm remembering it right. Like it kind of switches back and forth. It's almost as if it's like one of those dreams you have where you're somebody else and then you switch back to you and then you switch back to that other person again, just repeatedly. Right. So this one here is Eltrogand, and this is Monel, and it's another one of those. We've got 2 or 3 voices. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's not really from his first person point of view. Also, obviously, because I mean, he wasn't like we see him here, so we're not seeing through his eyes, right? Right. It's like a strange exposition dream that's. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Mordru's having it, but also like Ron Vidar's watching it and also simultaneously describing what he's seeing. And I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it's like if the word balloons have been colored the right way and lettered the right way, we would see the difference between who's speaking. Like, is it a rush job or something? But we should also take note of the kind of ragged panel borders here to show that it's a dream, I think. So it's sort of like he's channeling Mordru, and it's maybe all Vidar's voice, but he's also like taking some of his emotions with it. So like when Mordru's getting defeated here, he says defeat, no, buried alive, like feeling Mordru's emotions as he's taking in his memories, maybe. I guess so. But see, this isn't Mordru's memories. This is Mordru's dreams, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's not. Like Misa is supposed to have set up a link between herself and Mordru, or between herself and Mordru, and then she's transmitting that to Vidar via this magic spell, I think. I guess I thought it was more deliberate though, because it's like he's looking for information, right? Like he's searching his memory to figure out what he needs to change, right? I suppose so. I think that's his ultimate goal, but I thought he was watching the TV show of Mordru's dream and just taking whatever he could get from that. Oh, okay. I mean, that's a very convenient dream for Mordru to be having when he... Exactly. And Mordru is like literally narrating about half of it. And he's like, right, I was buried alive for centuries, you know? It's, what do you call that? When the villain gives you the entire plan, when the guy's tied up or whatever. Is there a name for that? There must be. But see, like in this panel, it says, you know, he was entombed for centuries, but arose. Awesome powers returned. Nobody could challenge, except the great manipulator, the puppet master. He's the one brought them warped time to thwart me. So this is Mordru's voice because he's talking about warping time to thwart me, Mordru. But then, you're right. Later, it's like, oh, it all fits, but the link's breaking up, and that's Ron Vidar speaking. So it's a mix. The lettering style is all the same, and the word balloon style is all the same, and they're all colored pink. I do detect some different lettering hands, but I don't think they're really on anything important. It's this dialogue from Legion 89 number 9 is lettered by somebody else on this page, but it's kind of irrelevant. Anyway,
is the crack all faded out on yours?
there's like a little circle
Right
through the middle of it. Yeah. I wonder if this is supposed to be the lightning. No, it's a second piece of lightning. Like there's lightning on the previous page 12, and then that same sound effect on page 13. I guess this is going to end the dream. But then we see the lightning again here on page 14 on the bottom tier. And I think that's supposed to be this. That's a repeat of one or the other of the lightnings from the previous 2 pages. The next page shows Pharaoh Lad out after curfew trying to hunt down some food to feed his starving brats. And he's evading some guards, but he's also internal monologue kind of talking about how he's worried that Vidar is going to get killed because of his ideals. And how Pharaoh Lad himself, he can't really get involved because he's got people depending on him.
Right.
And then he sees the middle panel, good middle panel theory here when he walks by what it's like a stone tile
mosaic. Is that
mosaic sign that says Mordru watches over you, and it's very very frightening and intimidating. This all-seeing eye of Mordru watching you, which we know he can do. There was that crazy scene in that, I guess it's Adventure 369 or 70, where he's using the eyes of all the people of Smallville to look for the Legionnaires who are trying to hide out from him, and everyone is a conduit for Mordru's vision, and he can see everything.
Right.
And we also saw it in the last issue of Legion of Superheroes it was issue number 3, where Mordru's using the probe droids to see everything.
Right.
He's got his eyes everywhere.
Right. And Vidar is kind of turning the tables. He's seeing through Mordru's eyes, right?
Yeah. Finally, somebody's got a one-up. Got the drop on Mordru's all-seeing eyes.
So who's this poor lady?
This page is nuts. This is awful.
Yeah.
She's just some prostitute that they're using as a way to demonstrate this horrific, bizarre technology they have to extract information from people. You don't have to question them. You can just give them the dip, and it converts their intelligence and memories into a digital download onto your thumb drive. It's an RNA bath, they say.
Oh, so it's still science.
Yeah, I don't quite know how it works. It's we're not there yet in this world where you can use ribonucleic acid to dissolve a person, and then what does it say? Our filters in the bottom of the pool are collecting the essence of her memory.
I think it's kind of a fuck up that they keep doing. Like, they should have just gone all magic, I think. Like, save the science for the regular series. They should have had magic equivalents to all the technology throughout this whole issue.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I'm also thinking maybe Mordru is taking over the universe with magic, and his opponent is the science using populace of the universe, right? So it's still out there, I guess. Like, they have spaceships and they have satellites and stuff, and then why wouldn't these regular people still kind of want to depend on technology? They've been conquered, but technology is still our friend, and we can still use those tools when maybe we can't use magic quite the same way.
Well, he seems more reliant on it now. Like you said, he's using the probes, but isn't everyone potentially a probe to this guy?
I guess so. Yeah, I can't remember how he quite did it to the people of Smallville. In that issue, he had cut Smallville out of the ground and put it in space or something. But yeah, I guess he did just use his powers that way he used everybody in town, huh? He didn't have to poison them first or anything like that. But if you're Mano, and there's you can go down to the Radio Shack and you can buy the RNA bath, and then you dip your 2 electrodes that connects it to your computer into the bath. Maybe that's how you would do it, because I don't actually have the
magic power.
Yeah, I was trying to think of another way to say the magic power. I don't have the intuition of a magician to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
I still can use a computer because I'm not tuned into the music of the spheres and the workings of the universe.
Yeah. Mordru, did he completely miss the Magic Wars? Was he not in that at all?
He was not in it.
That's so weird.
It was a bait and switch. They had this
They were alluding that it was him, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Okay.
They had that whole thing where it's like there's this character who seems to be buried underground and fighting his way up to the surface and going through some torment. And he's like first a rocky beast, and this sort of looks like a man, but you can't see his face. But then he just turns into one of those Giffen guys with a big grin, you know, like a Lord of Chaos or something.
What a weird choice.
They totally dropped the ball on the Magic Wars storyline. It didn't turn out good at all.
Right.
And yeah, the fact that Mordru, like at that point, Mordru was good. He was still a good guy. Or he was like, they had done whatever they did to him to make him like a reformed person or something.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like he's going to get out of it eventually. But
yeah, and the Magic Wars would have been the logical place, but it turned out not to be him. And maybe it was a lead up to whatever Giffen was going to do in 5 years later, because it was literally 7 months ago. It was just like the same time as this fucking Legion 89 issue, practically, that the end of the Magic Wars happened, right?
So maybe he's like, no, don't use Mordru. I have plans for him in the next series. Swap that guy out with somebody.
Swap him out with somebody who's we've never heard of before.
Lying lips or
somebody we've never heard of before who's real powerful, but the Legionnaires can also like defeat him by, they did that stupid thing where it's like, let's focus all our powers all together now. They kept doing that. It's so stupid. I can't really remember how they defeated him. Amethyst defeated him. Yeah, it was dorky, huh? Because he's trying to take over
Spirit came out or something.
Yeah, he's trying to take over the gem world, and then it turns out he's going to take it over and destroy it. But if he destroys it, it turns out when you destroy it, you destroy yourself. So, so goodbye gem world or sorcerer's world, and then goodbye this bad guy. The end.
Well, we don't have to cover that one now.
I just told you everything you need to know. Legion of Superheroes number 63.
Okay.
But this page does make them seem very evil. They're willing to dissolve some lady for no reason, just to test out, just as a demonstration of their bizarre RNA lie detector bath or whatever it is.
Gained all of her memories, all of her blowjob giving expertise.
Right. He's going to upload that to his favorite website.
Well, help him better serve Mordru.
Right. That website's actually probably illegal on this Catholic.
Just not with his right hand.
So Ron Vidar's coming out of I guess Glorith must have knocked him out somewhere, right? Or he got struck by lightning and passed out at the end of this dream, and now he's at her house.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it knocked him out. It's like an intense mind melding experience or something like that.
And he got electrocuted by lightning. Yeah, at the very least, it would have knocked him out.
Right.
And he gets to see her in her panties.
Got the cool inversed image there.
Yeah. But Glorith has kidnapped Ron Vidar, and I guess basically she's just like, we should team up. We're going to team up. You're going to die when Mordru wakes up because he knows that you stole his dreams. So you're working with me now, dude.
Kind of a throwback image there with all the shadow on his face like that. That reminds me of I don't know, is it Hex that he did a lot of that?
Yeah, there was a period before this where he did that a lot more, and he kind of got away from it when he was doing the Kevin Maguire kind of look. But yeah, it's in his tool chest to do this, so I guess it's never going to go away.
Maybe that's something he dialed back after the plagiarism.
I mean, it's kind of it kind of makes sense. You see Ron Vidar kind of with his face facing down into the bed or something, and then this shot would be as if you put the camera on the floor and are shooting straight up at his face or something.
Right.
So I guess he might actually, in reality, might be lit in this way, almost. Yeah, I guess we're on page 17 now, huh?
Mano's talking to his lackey, and he looks like a regular human straight on, but when you see him in profile, he's kind of like a pig man.
Yeah, he has a weird smashed nose. He kind of, from the front, he has kind of like cat lip pads or something, almost.
Oh, yeah.
But he looks like Lon Chaney Jr. or something, maybe. But anyway, yeah, this lackey guy tells Mano that Misa is missing. She's missing. And Mano's got to track her down, so he's going to comb the desert. He has to find her before Mordru wakes up because I guess he'll have to face some consequences for losing this person, as he's responsible for not letting people escape from Mordru, I guess.
Mhm.
And he decides that after thinking it over, she's probably at the cathedral praying to Jesus like she always is.
Mhm.
I guess Mordru has chosen a nun for his wife. She's really religious.
Is that related to Catholic cathedral?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
cathedrals is a Catholic thing. Like the Protestants don't have cathedrals; they just have churches.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a weird mishmash. It's a strange choice.
I mean, I'm sure it's because either Giffen or Tom Bierbaum or Mary Bierbaum is a Catholic.
Or they're a Protestant and they think of Catholicism as like witchcraft.
Yeah, I suppose so. But wait, aren't the other? Nah, I don't know much about it. Catholicism is the oldest one, right?
Right. The others are they broke off. They branched off from.
Yeah, but see, like, do the newer Protestant ones think of this oldest one as some kind of crazy, whatever, ungodly witchcraft stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, that's rule one in any religion. You have to like point out that the other guys are full of shit, or people would leave your church and go to the other one.
Well, yeah, but it's not a secret that, like, oh, before we were Lutherans, we were all Catholics, right?
Right. Until we realized they were just was witchcraft, or they somehow perverted God's word.
Oh, they're actually worshiping the devil and stuff.
Some perversion of God's word.
I guess I just assumed that Tom Bierbaum was a Catholic as a kid growing up. He thinks it's kind of stupid now, and he's going to make it like the oppressive Nazi Germany regime kind of religion in the MORDRU-VERSE.
Let's see. We've already lost the cops, and now we're going to lose the Catholics. So there's a lot of overlap there.
I was going to say they kind of find some kind of solace and comfort in this Christian religion, but the only time they show it here is when they're going into this place to conspire with each other to destroy the emperor.
Right.
You could interpret the religion aspect in a couple of different ways, whether it's on the side of good or on the side of heathenism or something, you know. They got this Nightbreed ad. Do you remember this thing?
I remember commercials for the trailer.
I think this ad made me think this movie was gonna be too scary.
Really?
Like it had this like really grody looking. I mean, not her. This guy looks pretty scary. This spiky person looks scary.
Oh yeah, Insky, lewd.
This guy Boone, I feel like he was on a lot of stuff back in the 80s and 90s. This guy looks like somebody on like Deep Space Nine.
Right.
This guy looks like that devil character from Legend, Tim Curry.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that. It's a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah, it's Ridley Scott, Tom Cruise, Tim Curry. Ridley Scott's the director, of course.
Right.
Mia Sara.
Okay, so Feral Lad is trying his best not to get involved in this situation because he wants to look after his family. He's not crazy, but he just can't bring himself to walk away. He begrudgingly has to go save Misa, right?
Yeah, he knows. He sees that there's a very important spaceship flying around, and he knows that if those guys catch up with Misa, something bad's going to happen to her, and he's seen too many of his friends die or be captured or whatever, so he's going to go and intervene and try and help.
Fulfill his destiny.
And we see Mano taking off his glove in this next to last panel. He's going to get her. But before we see what happens, we cut back over here to Dolores doing the spell, and it looks pretty messed up. She has to go out in the snow nude, and she has a knife, and the spell is brutal, primitive, he says. This is a voiceover caption from Ron Vidar, and she's already kind of bleeding, like she's already cut herself up, I guess, in this 8th panel here. We
don't know what she's cutting. I don't know if she stabbed herself in the stomach or if she's cut her wrist or.
Yeah, like the blood's all over her like legs. So yeah, maybe her stomach or just like cutting an X across her abdomen or something.
Right.
And yeah, the next page shows Vidar kind of ruminating on what he's going through, what he's had to do, what Glorith is doing in this spell.
Yeah.
This is the laziest page of Giffen art in this issue. Where there's he only drew 2 panels for this page.
Yeah, it just seems like you should have at least maybe had his eyes move a little bit. Look to the left in one panel, maybe, or just some semblance of movement.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that part of the reason that it's like this is because they were making story changes like right down to the last minute. So like he needs to keep talking. He needs to keep talking. We'll just use that same panel over and over again. I don't even think it's a very good drawing of Ron Vidar here, but whatever, it's fine.
It's kind of weird. That shadow.
He poses a funny question, like at the 8th panel here. He says, "Who's to say Mordru hasn't made all of this up just to toy with us, all the dreams, all the silly stories about the other world, just to fuck with them." And that's kind of an ominous revelation for him to have, especially at this point when the story's almost over. We have no idea what's really going to happen.
Yeah, it almost alludes to something, right? But I don't know that pays off.
I don't think it does either. Like, I mean, I think it kind of like when it all goes back to normal, quote unquote normal, it's a little skewed and a little different. And so maybe it's kind of foreshadowing that, I guess. But like you said, maybe Mordru still remembers it, like back when they go back to regular, what we kind of recognize. Maybe Mordru does remember it. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like when we get to the last page of this issue, Mordru seems like he's taken by surprise. So that maybe wasn't all part of a plan of his. But Ron Vidar can't know that at this point. Now, this shows the, for the spell to work, for this ritual to work, Glorith has to like use her own blood to draw some symbols on the ground. You know, she's probably in her salt circle, and she's probably got a pentagram made out of stones or something around there. But then she also has to draw some symbols with her own blood. I don't know what part, maybe a specific part of her body, that blood. And they show the symbols, and there's some voiceover from Vidar, and he's like, "I hope she does it the right way. It all has to be in exactly the proper place." And it's also kind of intercut. This middle tier of panels is Pharaoh Lad trying to fight off Mano and save Misa. The symbols, do you recognize any of these as anything important? Like in this panel, it says, the caption says, "Many of the original pieces gone with the puppet master, lost when he was destroyed." And this is kind of the male-female symbol.
That's what I was going to say.
And is that like Superboy and Supergirl? Like those are the important symbols that have been lost?
I thought it was like the artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah.
And then this one is kind of an infinity symbol almost.
Oh yeah.
And this one sort of looks like the Legion L symbol with the falling star in it almost. But it's also got a number 4, the last panel, panel 9. Yeah, so like right off the bat, they're kind of nonsense to me, but I wonder if Giffen had an idea of what these symbols actually mean, or if Tom and Mary and Keith all had an idea of what these symbols are meant to mean. Like this one seems to have a star with a circle around it somehow.
The pentagram one?
Yeah, the very first one.
Right. I think the pentagram is just a pentagram. The ones in the top middle, I don't know, they look a little bit like crop circles. I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably mostly just nonsense, right? They're just mostly supposed to look like some kind of old-fashioned.
The male-female one's the only one that I wonder about. That can't just be Greeking. You know, that looks like deliberate. And like you said, it's saying some of the pieces are gone. Maybe that's got to be Superboy and Supergirl. Yeah, I think that's also what they're talking about when they say the Daxamite strength must be restored. Maybe that means Laurel, or do you think that means resurrecting Mon-El? Maybe it means resurrecting Mon-El.
Oh yeah, he says, it's in this middle tier, huh? He's kind of talking about these 3 very specific things that need to be there: the legendary source of inspiration, the Daxamite strength, and the financier. But I think when all is said and done, the source of inspiration and the Daxamite strength are like the same guy. It's just Mon-El, right? But maybe what he's talking about in this context, he's talking about the old way where you had a Superboy as the inspiration, a Daxamite to be the time trapper's invulnerable vessel, and then the financier to pay for everything.
Right.
It's so silly. We
Right.
need that guy.
Yeah.
But then
unnecessary.
Glorith kind of moves the pieces around, and all we have is the Daxamite and the Durlin financier.
Like we didn't get all three. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
the source of inspiration, who used to be Superboy, we don't have him. We just have the Daxamite. We just have Mon-El and RJ Brand, the Durlin financier.
Right. Yeah. And by your interpretation, Mon-El would be both the first and the second panel, right? Because he's both the inspiration and he's.
That's right.
It's a weird no. That's a weird no. I've never seen it done that way. 3 N's and a no.
Oh yeah, that is kind of strange.
No.
No. Kind of yell at my cat like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, this little next to last page, 22. Things are coming to a head. I can't ever think of his name when I'm trying to say it. Pharaoh Lad, he's attacking Mano. He's taking him out. Ron Vidar, he's sitting in his house. He's waiting for the shit to go down in the spell that Glorith has performed. And Glorith she's fucked up, like she's bleeding out of her mouth.
Right.
And my notes.
The spell kills her.
Yeah, the spell is fatal. I said this is the best drawing in the issue, the panel 4 here, where Glorith is kind of like her head's down. She has blood coming out of her mouth and her eyes are darkened, and it just looks kind of crazy. I liked that drawing the best out of the issue.
Pretty good.
But yeah, she has had to commit suicide to do the spell that's going to, or the ritual that's going to undo whatever happened to put Mordru in control of the universe.
Right. And she was expecting to sort of be resurrected, brought back to health. Once the spell was finished, she's now realizing she has to completely die in agonizing death first. Like she's sitting there waiting just to heal up and be the boss instantly, but she has to actually go through the agony of death first.
Right. And it turns out she probably won't even remember what happened, right? It's like when we die and we're reborn into our next life and we have no recollection of our previous lives, and we have to go through all of our growing up all over again.
Yeah, I don't know.
And in Glorith's case, she doesn't remember any of that. She grows up and she takes over the universe potentially.
We'll have to see when we read is it the annual that kind of goes through her history?
Yeah, I think the annual kind of tells the story of Glorith and Mon-El kind of intertwined a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she remembers this.
Yeah, she might.
Sure.
But then it shows Glorith kind of die, and then it flashes back again to this panel of the Durlin from Legion 89.
Getting swapped.
So yeah, the last panel on page 22 and the first panel on 23, it shows that exchange of the Durlin and Phantom Girl again. But the Phantom Girl panel has this jagged panel border, which we saw back here during Mordru's dream that Vidar was eavesdropping on, right? It has these ragged, kind of uneven borders.
So you think they just completely recycled it and didn't think about it? Or is it because in this case, they're pointing out that this is happening at a different time?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're getting into like Twin Peaks: The Return type of territory in this comic. I'm sure they're not. But yeah, like the drawings are the same in the when they
for sure
when they recap the exchange thing. But the drawing of the Durlin from page 13,
right?
They put the straight border on it when it's back here on page 22, and they didn't do it with the Phantom Girl.
So it's probably just a mistake.
I guess so. But it almost seems like they show the Phantom Girl drawing in with dream shaped panel borders. And the next panel we see it's Mordru, right? Like it's obviously Mordru, this old man, white eyebrow, and he says no. Looks like he's waking up. And this is straight borders. It's as if he's awoken from his own dream, seeing Phantom Girl show up, and then his existence is annihilated.
Right. It's really ominous. It's kind of cool. Like this whole thing has been about him, but this is all we ever see of him. It's this last moment.
Well, it almost makes it seem like the whole thing might have been his dream somehow. But I'm not sure. I don't know if that's what they were going for at all. And I can't, just like thinking of it just right now or today, I'm like, I haven't tried to put the pieces together of like what it would mean if the first 22 pages of this was Mordru's dream, and I don't know, like it happened that fast, like it happened in the length of a dream that he had tonight, or something like that. And now we're getting back to maybe the normal universe again in the next issue, you know?
But even after the fade to white happens after he wakes up.
Right.
Does that affect your
I guess so.
theory?
Well, it would just mean that he dreamed that somebody was going to thwart him, and it was such a nightmare that it woke him up, and it woke him up to the event of him being erased from existence, I guess.
Like you're saying, maybe he got erased for an entirely different reason, and he just dreamed everything that happened here.
I guess so. Or yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been able to think it through. Like, what would it mean if he dreamed all the stuff about Farrelad and Rond Vidar and Glorith trying to undo him, but then he wakes up and it's actually true?
That would be a really shitty dream.
It would be, yeah. And storytelling wise, it would be very complicated. So I don't imagine that's what they're actually going for. But the weird ragged panel border on the first panel of this page puts these ideas in my head, you know, that maybe they're trying to have something else going on that's not really simple to understand. But it could also be, yeah, like you said, like it's some kind of production error where they should have put straight panel borders on there and they forgot or something like that.
There's an artifact that it looks like from the cut and paste too, the lower left.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
It's like a speck.
Yeah, but I guess what's happening is that Mordru is seeing the exchange actually happen again, like it happened before. And so it startles him awake in time to see the universe come undone.
Right.
It would have been interesting if they could have figured out a way for there to be a very subtle change in the Phantom Girl 4 Durlan exchange panels here and here versus the way they looked before, when actually there is a subtle change, but it's just different lettering. Somebody else lettering them.
Right. Well, yeah, and then this gets more complicated as we go, right? Because at some point they decided she isn't Phantom Girl.
That's what I thought. I can't remember how it turned out.
I think it was because of 0 Hour. They needed to. I mean, I think it would have been cool if they would have just kept her Phantom Girl from a now deleted reality existing in the 20th century. But they decided they needed to swap her out with like her ancestor or something.
But also, like, I think you've told me before that in that last, or in the issue 65 or whatever, doesn't she show up, Phantom Girl? So maybe they
bring her back.
Yeah. I don't know how they did it. So maybe they didn't say that she wasn't Phantom Girl. They just left it up in the air for the entirety of the Legion 89 series or something.
Well, it's more complicated than that because they've come back a few times. And in fact, she is a member, or was a member, of that Fantastic Four team.
Oh, right. That Terrifics.
The Terrifics. Yeah.
So that was the character from Legion 89, was in Terrifics? Is that where she came from? All right. I read the first issue of Terrifics, and it didn't get into that and explain it, so I didn't know where she was from.
Yeah.
Isn't there, in this fade to white thing, is there a little bit more information shown in the last few panels than in the previous issue? Let me look at issue 4.
Even the degrading.
Yeah. Like, here's what it looks like in issue 4. Like, you don't get this kind of blown out photocopy kind of thing.
Right. There.
I guess you have this instead.
Yeah, he's illustrating the effect there, whereas here it looks like they're using like degraded photocopies, right?
Right. And in fact, the 4th panel is kind of an enlargement from the 3rd panel.
Do the panels break up like that in 4 as well?
Yeah, they do. Maybe not to that degree, but they do.
It's weird that they're doing that deliberately here, but it seems to happen accidentally throughout the book.
Yeah. Yeah, the print quality was all over the map throughout.
Yeah, it's that weird. It's like the bad reproductions of really old comics where the lines all broken up. Like if you're in Photoshop and your threshold isn't right and you throw away a bunch of your line.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks like the fade to white stuff looks like when you're when you need a new fuser unit in your photocopier and the toner isn't sticking the right way.
Oh,
You ever got
yeah.
photocopies back where you can just like brush your hand across it and half the toner comes off?
Yeah.
It's
Why
'cause
is
if-
there like a finish or something that's supposed to go over it?
No,
Or is it
it's
supposed to cook it?
Yeah, I think it's not cooking it enough. Well, whatever happened, whether it was a dream or whether it was reality, whether it was future or if it's past, Mordru's done. This whole universe looks like it got wiped out the same way the Time Trapper did in the last issue.
I can't get that out of my head now. I think it's just because he implanted it. It is Twin Peaks-ish. It is David Lynch-ish.
It is kind of. It's like this is 1989, 90. This is
Except if David Lynch did that, this would be the last issue. And that's all we'd know.
right. They got canceled with this issue.
Well, I don't know. He didn't get canceled last time, and he ended it just as ambiguously.
Oh, I started watching those again. They're so good. I like that show.
I would really like to do that. I keep forgetting to do that.
Yeah, but we know this series goes on. Unlike Twin Peaks season 2, this is going to go on a while.
Or 3.
Well, yeah. No letters page. That's it. That's the whole issue. Oh, they put all the ads in the back, huh?
Yeah. It was nice of them.
This Secret Origins trade paperback had a lot of Giffen shit in it.
Yeah, I think you were talking to me about that before. It's a very old school Superman Flash drawing. Is that a...
Oh yeah, it's like it looks like Murphy Anderson, like Dan Jurgens and Murphy Anderson or something.
Weird.
But I bet it's not. I bet it's Art T. Bear.
Yeah. Judging by the face of Superman, I'd say you're right.
Yeah, I mean it's homage drawing to an old like Infantino Murphy Anderson drawing, right?
Right.
Or I guess it's Infantino. It could be Kurt Swan. I can't remember.
You mean the races?
Yeah, the original version of this drawing.
Probably Kurt Swan. I think those usually happened in the Superman book, but I can't.
Yeah.
I love those Infantino Flash drawings where he does the faded image of the Flash over and over.
That kind of stuff is so hard to draw.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than one would think.
For work, like I have to draw like stuff that's like flies off of something and spins around or whatever. And it's impossible. It's so hard to figure out like what to put in and what to leave out. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I've never been good at it, you know?
It's hard.
Another, those like gyroscope things that you can strap a person into, like in Lawnmower Man or whatever, and you spin this way and you spin that way. Remember that kind of thing? Yeah. Like they had that as a kid's toy, kind of like you put in your backyard, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And I had to do one of those this week where like they put him in it and then it, like he goes crazy and it's like spinning all over the place, And I'm like, I don't know, do my best.
I took a bunch of screen caps of like old Popeye cartoons for stuff like that to try to figure out how to do like, like when Popeye's wailing on somebody and it looks like he has like 12 arms. I love that shit. Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah, that was the new Legion of Superheroes number 5, the MORDRU-VERSE issue. Oh wait, I wanted to ask you something else about this.
Ask the expert.
Like, this seems like the kind of thing that they would go back to. Would you want to see more stories set in the MORDRU-VERSE, or is this enough for you? Like they've established a pretty big world and put in a lot of, I don't know. I think there's a lot of I think there's enough depth and enough ideas that somebody could have done more with this. Would you have wanted to see more like this? The Elseworlds MORDRU-VERSE book or something like that?
I think it could have been 2 issues. But I don't know that I'd want more.
Yeah.
Like nowadays they would have made a whole trades worth a whole story arc like that. But I like that it's one and done. It's almost novel in that way.
Yeah, I like that about that too. Yeah, like they could have done. Well, I'm thinking about that, like X-Men Days of the Future Past thing. How many issues was that?
1.
Was that only 1 issue?
It was only 1.
But they've milked it a lot since then, right? Where they go into the future and there's
it would never be just 1 today.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff in the series in general that they kind of just shoot right past that I wish they would have spent more time on. Like I would have liked to see a lot more of like the 5-year gap, more flashbacks to what was going on. Like, how did Mordru get loose and get back to power? Get back into power? Like, we never get to see any of that.
Yeah. Definitely they would have done. If this was made today, it would have been, an event.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't. I don't know. It's strange to me that, I mean, these days, like, it's played out already, but like the multiverse type of shit, alternate dimension stuff, it was huge. Like this year and last year and a year and a half ago, huge. All the superhero TV shows and the Spider-Man movies and stuff, like it was the thing. If this comic hadn't been so old and so derided, I guess, by the people when it came out, like they probably would have conjured this back up and like dug it back up and was like, hey, here's a cool alternate universe that's set in Renaissance Fair days. Let's do a DC Black Label 6 issues or something about this, right?
Well, I could see them replicating the idea, but doing something similar, but they'd never go back to this. This is like, it's almost like a dream sequence within an entire world that they're pretending never happened.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, this is the shit that ruined their franchise. They don't ever want to go back to it. Even when they were explicit to say, we're going back, everything you read counts except for this. This shit doesn't count. This shit didn't happen.
So sad. Like, this is the best stuff. Like, this is the best storytelling of any of it.
Right.
So crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just bold and, I don't know, groundbreaking, it's also completely reverential to everything that came before. It wasn't like they brought some hotshot, super creative writer who came in and completely turned it upside down and started over. All this crazy stuff is done by people who are putting, like, there's so many Easter eggs and so many references to the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they didn't tear down anything really, except the stupid shit that, I mean, the stuff that some other stupid shit told them they had to tear down, right? Meanwhile, everything since then has been like, totally revisionist, totally starting from scratch.
Well, I mean, like, compare that to, like, say, Roy Thomas's run. Like, he didn't tear anything down, but he clearly didn't know anything about anything that happened before and didn't give a shit about it.
Right.
Like, so even though the universe seems to be upended, like, these people are intimately familiar with the universe they're fucking with. Like, it's the continuity, or it's sound. It's more, I don't know.
Well, right. And I like, every time I've read things with Tom Bierbaum lately, like in the Amazing Heroes 5 years later issue, or on the Tom Bierbaum blog, he's like, we did this, but if circumstances changed, we just do an issue where we undo that and put it back to normal, Right. Totally logical. There's nothing crazy about that. It's like, it's a comic book. We can write a story where we kill Mordru, and then we can write another story where we bring him back to life,
Right.
There's evidently people who just don't think about that. They don't want to do it that way, even though that's the way comic books were done for like 60 years or something. You know what I mean?
Well, nowadays it's too tempting to just just start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
And tell the old stories over again, which was never necessary.
Well, and I don't want to see the old stories again anyway. I got them. Give me a new story. Right. Give me something new and original. Keith Giffen, you fucking swipe file son of a bitch.
I mean, we've kind of talked about this before, but yeah, the excuses they make are bullshit. Like, it was too dark, they blew the earth up. It's like, all of that could be fixed in one issue if that was their choice.
Right.
They could have easily made everything exactly the way it was 5 years before if they had wanted to, without deleting everything that happened before. I think what it really gets down to is DC decided what makes the Legion's brand is they're teenagers. And by this point, it was undeniable that they weren't teenagers. But they hadn't been forever.
Right.
I mean, they've had kids all through the 80s, and they were getting married in the early 70s.
Right. Well, yeah, and like the annual number 2, the Projectra Karate Kid wedding. Yeah.
Right.
Like, they've been fucking for 10 years, and now they're getting married.
Right.
Like, well, that was 1983 or something, right? Like,
Bouncing Boy and To a Damsel got married like 71.
Yeah, that was issue 200, and that comic finally wound up. That comic went to issue 313, and then there's another 63 issues after that.
Right.
So 170 months. I don't know how many years that is. More than 10. Crazy. Yeah, they're all supposed to be teenagers forever.
Yeah, but I guess because they never successfully directly addressed their age, like they just sort of talked around it for as long as they could. Somehow 5 years later gets the rap for it. Like, you made the mold. What, in 5 years?
Right. Yeah, like when fucking Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl had twin children, like they weren't adults then. They're still 16. Come on.
In the issue, it's either the issue Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl get married, or the one right before it. Saturn Girl is like reflecting on their relationship. She even says in there, it was 10 years ago that we met and the Legion was formed.
Yeah.
Or some I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah, it just means that whoever says some crap like, oh, they're supposed to be teenagers, it doesn't hold any water, and they're full of shit.
Right.
They just didn't like this for some reason, and it's probably because of like a money thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay, it's kind of a challenging comic book, but I don't know. I don't care. It's not a bad comic book. It's a really well done, good comic book.
Right.
Especially when you consider the stupid hurdles that they're going through with issue 5 and the previous issue, that some outside force forces you to do. Like, it's still good. It's still really good.
Yeah. What's better? Like, now it seems like all it is come see what the DC universe is like in 1,000 years. See, where are the Green Lanterns now? What's Aquaman's Trident up to? It's like all like the DC universe of the future. It's more about other properties. But I guess you're just desperate. Like, I like that the old stuff, it could really be a separate company making these comics. Like, it had its own who's who. It had its own established universe that was only kind of tangentially related to the rest of it. Like, I read Legion forever, but when I started reading DC in the early 90s, I didn't know anything about DC. Nothing, because so little of it was in the Legion. The Legion has its own set of villains and aliens and planets, and almost none of that, at least until like Invasion, I guess, almost none of that was present. It was like it was a Charlton book or something.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like that it has its own universe.
Yeah, I think that's a strength. I mean, like, I think trying to say that the future of the DC universe is like it's Aquaman of 1,000 years from now. It's Superman of 1,000. Like, he needs like exactly the same, only his costume is like shiny, and that's the main difference, and the people are shiny instead of not shiny, and that's the difference. Like, who gives a fuck? Why would I care about that?
Right. And who was that one? Wasn't there like a Shazam lass or something like that?
Thunder is what she was called.
Oh, she was called Thunder.
Yeah, they started doing that in that reboot period, where they had I don't know if they ever got a Green Lantern, but they had a Captain Marvel, and they had actually, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all they really did, but it was still too much. Like, didn't really need this character. I can't imagine that attracted the people who read Power of Shazam months to month to go try out Legion of Superheroes. I don't think it was not going to do that, Legion of Superheroes #5.
Stay tuned for more Legion reviews. Long live Legion.